Welcome back to High Stakes, where we help you elevate your betting strategy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay updated with our daily content. Looking for exclusive access to premium betting picks? Join us on Patreon. Links are available in the comments section below. Stay ahead of the game with High Stakes. What better way to celebrate Christmas than with a thrilling, high-stakes football game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans, right? In this expert analysis, brace yourself. I'll break down all the so-called critical team/total picks and prop bets for this holiday matchup. So, who's going to win this Christmas Day showdown? Let's dive in, shall we? Baltimore's strolling into Houston with a solid 10-5 record, having won 3 out of their last 4 games. Oh, and they just crushed Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, Houston's 9-6, coming off a loss to the Chiefs, and, just for added drama, they've got a key player, Tank Dell, sidelined with an injury. Oh, and did I mention the game's on a Wednesday? Because that's totally not awkward at all, right? Anyway, don't miss the action. It kicks off at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, keep reading for my insightful preview of this clash between Baltimore and Houston. Let's break down Baltimore's dominant 10-5 season, where they're tied with the Steelers for the AFC North crown, and of course, they've already clinched a playoff spot. But hey, why stop there? They're still pushing for that divisional title because, apparently, winning the AFC North isn't enough. The Ravens have won 3 of their last 4 games, because beating Pittsburgh 34-17 on December 21st was such a huge deal. They led by 10 at halftime, but let's not forget about that third-quarter drama when the Steelers almost tied it up until Marlon Humphrey had other plans with a pick six, of course. Lamar Jackson tossed 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, and, oh yeah, rushed for a grand total of 22 yards, truly breaking records out there. Lamar's had a solid year, throwing for 3,787 yards and 37 touchdowns, second in the NFL. Derrick Henry? Yeah, he's rushing for 1,636 yards. Not too shabby, right? Zay Flowers is the favorite target, logging 1,016 yards and 4 touchdowns. On defense, Roquan Smith is leading with 136 tackles. Kyle Van Noy? Oh, he just casually has 10.5 sacks. No big deal. But don't get too excited. Baltimore does have some injury concerns, including their top corner and some key offensive players. As for stats, the Ravens are scoring an impressive 30.1 points per game, 3rd in the NFL, and their rushing game is ranked 2nd with 181.2 yards per game. Yet, they're allowing 23.3 points a game, ranking 20th, and giving up a whopping 255 passing yards per game, 2nd worst in the NFL. But hey, they're still the best at stopping the run, only 83.1 rushing yards per game allowed. Now, on to Houston, the dominant 9-6 AFC South champs, who apparently didn't get the memo about how hard it is to win in the NFL. The Texans have won 3 of their last 5 games, and, oh, wait, they just lost 27-19 to the Chiefs. But let's focus on the silver lining, right? Houston did take a 10-7 lead at one point, and then they just couldn't hang. Add a few turnovers and a major injury to star wide receiver Tank Dell, and suddenly, they're playing catch-up the whole game. C.J. Stroud did his best, throwing for 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks, but it wasn't enough. Joe Mixon? He had 57 rushing yards. Riveting stuff, honestly. Stroud has thrown for 3,492 yards this season, and while he's had his moments, he's also thrown 11 interceptions to 19 touchdowns. Mixon's doing his thing with 967 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. Oh, and Nico Collins is their top receiver with 909 yards and 6 touchdowns. Houston's defense is, well, it's okay. Henry To'o leads with 97 tackles, and Danielle Hunter has 12 sacks. But with 28 turnovers forced, they're trying at least. Injuries, though? Houston's got a laundry list, including Tank Dell, of course, Jimmy Ward, and more key players. On offense, the Texans are averaging 23.4 points per game, 13th best, 229 passing yards, 15th, and 117.4 rushing yards, 16th. On defense, they're giving up 21.4 points per game, 9th best, but are still vulnerable in the passing game, 15th worst in passing yards allowed. In short, they're middle of the pack, just like their record suggests. Now, as for the game, well, Baltimore's offense is elite, and Houston? Not so much. The Ravens are averaging a 3rd best 30.1 points per game, while Houston struggles to keep pace. Given the Texans' injuries and lack of firepower, I fully expect Baltimore to take this one and cover the spread. The Ravens' offense is simply too much for Houston's middle-tier defense. So, my expert prediction? Ravens to cover the spread, of course. Oh, and the over? Yeah, we're going over 46.5 points because both teams can put up points, and this total is laughably low. All right, grab your eggnog, folks, because we're about to break down these can't-miss prop picks for the Baltimore Ravens versus Houston Texans game. And let's be real, these picks are as obvious as the fact that Lamar Jackson is going to throw at least 2 touchdowns. Ready? Let's dive into this magical world of bets, where the outcome is almost as predictable as your uncle falling asleep on the couch after dinner. Lamar Jackson, over 1.5 touchdowns. Let's start with the quarterback, who's had an MVP-level season. Lamar Jackson has already thrown 37 touchdowns this year, and Houston's defense? Not exactly a fortress. In fact, they're the second worst team in the league when it comes to passing yards allowed, which is not exactly what you want to hear when you're facing a guy who can throw for 3,787 yards and is an elite playmaker. So yeah, Lamar throwing at least 2 touchdowns? That's a lock. Expect him to throw it to Flowers, Andrews, or maybe even run one in himself. But we'll keep it simple and stick to the most likely scenario. At least 2 passing touchdowns. I mean, come on. Who's stopping Lamar in this one? Derrick Henry, over 80.5 rushing yards. Here's a wild idea. Maybe Derrick Henry will run all over the Texans like he does with every other team in the NFL. Sure, the Texans have the 12th best rushing defense in the league, but this is Derrick Henry. You know, the guy who's been known to break 80 yards on a single carry? He's going up against a team that struggled to stop the run all season. So if you think Henry won't be finding the holes, getting those 4-yard gains, and rumbling for big chunks of yardage, then you haven't been paying attention to the NFL this year. Don't overthink this one. Derrick Henry is going to hit that 80.5 mark before halftime. No sweat. Zay Flowers, anytime touchdown. Okay, let's talk about Lamar's favorite target, Zay Flowers. He's racked up over 1,000 receiving yards this year. And if you think Lamar won't be looking for him in the red zone, you're sorely mistaken. Houston's defense might have a few decent players, but their secondary is where they're most vulnerable. And Flowers is the guy Lamar goes to when it's time to get things done. He's had a solid 1,016 yards and 4 touchdowns on the season. So why wouldn't he add another one in this high-scoring affair? We've seen what Lamar can do with his top targets, and Flowers has been consistently reliable. So yeah, placing a bet on Flowers scoring? Absolutely. You're welcome. CJ Stroud, over 1.5 interceptions. The rookie QB. CJ Stroud's had some fantastic moments this year, no doubt about it. But here's the problem. He's also thrown 11 interceptions. So when you're up against the Baltimore Ravens, who are led by a defense that's been feasting on rookie QBs all season, this is a prime opportunity for Stroud to add a couple more picks to his stat line. Marlon Humphrey and the gang are going to be salivating at the chance to pick off a pass or two, especially when Stroud is trying to keep pace with Lamar and the high-flying Ravens offense. If you're betting on turnovers, this one is practically begging for your money. Texans to commit over 1.5 turnovers. Let's take a minute and talk about this absolute lock. Between Stroud's questionable decision-making under pressure and the Texans' general inability to hold onto the ball when it matters most, turnovers are a given. Whether it's a fumble or another pick from Stroud, the Texans' offense just can't seem to avoid handing the ball over, especially when they're playing from behind. The Ravens have forced 23 turnovers this season, and with Stroud throwing into tight coverage, expect this prop to hit. Heck, I'd bet on the Texans turning the ball over more than once. It's just what they do. Baltimore Ravens, over 27.5 points. The Ravens are averaging a cool 30.1 points per game, 3rd best in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Texans are giving up an average of 21.4 points per game, 9th best, sure, but against whom, exactly? The Ravens are basically an offensive juggernaut, combining an elite passing attack with the best rushing attack in the NFL. With Lamar at the helm and Henry churning out yards on the ground, there's absolutely no reason why the Ravens don't drop 28+ points on this Texans defense. So go ahead, take the over, because the Ravens are going to make this a total shootout, and I'm not sure the Texans can keep up. If you're betting on this game, you're pretty much betting on Lamar Jackson doing what Lamar does best, throwing touchdowns and scrambling around like a magician. And while the Texans will try their best to keep it close, good luck with that. They just don't have the firepower to match Baltimore. So, yeah, these prop picks are almost as guaranteed as a Christmas tree being up on December 25th. Happy betting, folks. You're welcome. And that's a wrap on today's video, folks. I'm sure you're absolutely on the edge of your seat, eagerly awaiting the next thrilling installment of this channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because clearly you don't want to miss any of our daily videos. I mean, who could live without them? And while you're at it, smash that notification bell, so you can be the first to know when we drop more gems like this. Oh, and if you're looking for some premium picks, because, let's be honest, who isn't? Join our Patreon. It's where the real magic happens. premium picks, insider info, and possibly even some mildly entertaining banter. So, hit that link, and we'll see you on the inside. Until next time, enjoy the game, make those bets, and remember, you're welcome.